Welcome everyone to Successful Mobility Programs for Managers. The purpose of this training is to ensure that you, the managers of employees who are participating in TeleWork, flex time, or commuter programs are successful and feel supported, and ensure that you're comfortable with managing employees and contractors who are participating in these important programs for your company or your agency. So just a few facts. This particular training is focused on the Central Texas area. So did you know that more than 197,000 employees, 23% of the entire Central Texas region workforce, work within Austin's Central Corridor? That's a lot of cars and a lot of people that have to move in a very short period of time. Did you also know that Austin, Texas ranks on the 4th list of the most congested metropolitan areas? So we are number 4 in Austin, Texas. The good news is already 6.4% of Austinites work from home, and we have the largest population, the 3rd largest, in the U.S. The other good news is telecommuting has increased nationwide by more than 73% since 2005. So not just Austin and Central Texas are able to deal with increasing congestion in populations by using this mobility option. The other good thing is studies are pouring in from managers, think tanks, universities, showing that telecommuting is a great option to make employees more productive. The other big important thing about telework, mobility programs, flex time, and commute solutions is within the next 10 years, Generation Y will be almost half the workforce here in the United States. And millennial employees are actually more likely to leave their jobs by a 50% margin because they do not believe that they're working in a sound place. Most organizations adopt telework and mobility solutions, though, because they are pressed for real estate. Real estate costs a lot of money. Putting an employee in an individual office definitely can give you other things and other problems and other expenses. So most offices on the average workday are only utilized 30 to 45% of the workday. And so most organizations have way more space than they actually need to house their employees. To office, the average worker, depending on where you are in the United States, can run a company between $5,000 to $20,000 each and every year. And unfortunately, operating expenses are going up too, as resources like energy, water, and materials are getting more expensive. So let's talk about telework and a specific type of working called flex time. So when we speak about telework in this presentation, we're talking about an arrangement where your employee works from home 1 or more days per week. They could also work from home a partial day. Now, flex time can be used in combination with a telework program. Flex time can also be its own standalone program. And so when we use the term flex time, we're talking about allowing employees to commute in and out of the office place outside of peak commute hours when traffic is at its worst. So let me give you a few examples so we're clear. So you can have a telework program where you have several employees who work from home 1 to 3 days per week. You could also have a telework program where they work from home in the morning, come into the office between 10 to 3, and leave at 3 p.m. and go work from home again to miss traffic. This is a combination of using telework and flex time. So they are working from home part of the day, but they're also given flexible working hours. A pure flex time program could be as simple as allowing employees to work a 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. schedule, or having them work 4 9s and a 4-hour schedule on Friday, or working 4 10s. All of these arrangements allow people to commute to and from work outside of peak congestion hours. So for this presentation, what we're going to go over first is telework and flex time and what's important to have in place so that both those programs can be successful for you as a manager. And then we're going to talk about actually commute solutions, which is transit, bus, rail, and ride sharing, as it has its own unique components that we want you to be, as a manager, aware of so you can support your employees and yourself with having a successful mobility working arrangement. So one of the amazing things about offering mobility programs is there's a lot of winners. This is why companies all over the U.S. are adopting these programs. So first and foremost, mobility programs are an employee benefit. And any of you who are seeking to not just attract but retain employees, when you're recognized as a place that allows for a mobile workforce, people want to come work for you. The other thing is, the more you use mobility programs, the better focus time you get, because it's shown statistically in a lot of studies that have come out that people who telework, people who flex time, or people who take commute options use that alone time to actually do focused quality work. And almost everyone who's done a survey in the last 5 years, the majority of people have reported being more productive. Health is a big benefit. So if you can imagine allowing your employees to actually work from home, do a flex time schedule, take a commute option, instead of sitting in traffic and snacking, they have time to go exercise and go get the appropriate foods. And so workplaces that support mobility tend to have healthier employees. Who else wins besides the employee? Definitely your organization. So there's a lot of organizations out there that telework, and I've listed just a few of these before. In fact, one of the largest teleworking organizations in the United States is the federal facility. Any office that has a highly congested area, in some states and jurisdictions, flex time is even mandated by regulation, which in Central Texas, not yet, and hopefully not will be if we address the traffic problem, but it's definitely something that's very popular with our organization. The other benefit you're going to see as a manager, you're going to see higher morale within your employees. Your employees will provide better customer service. They have more time. They're taking care of themselves. They have flexibility. They have focus. They're going to be able to serve your customer, whether that's a person, whether it's a product you're offering, whether it's an internal part of your organization they're supporting. And study after study after study has shown that people who are allowed to do mobility programs have higher productivity. Interestingly enough, just a few statistics around telework around employee recruitment and retention. 33% would quit a job to get to go to another job that allowed telework. And 43% would choose the ability to telework over a salary or raise. And these statistics are amazing to show that with a program that is actually quite affordable to run, you can reduce congestion on your roads and improve retention and attraction of your employees. The other thing that mobility programs allow you to do is disaster management. Since you're not dependent on one person getting in one car and driving to a facility, but you have a mobile workforce who has been taught to work anywhere under any circumstances and get connected, they're highly productive even when disasters strike. And last but not least, we cannot say enough about the cost benefits real estate-wise for companies that do mobility programs. Both parking and office space in congested urban areas is very, very expensive. When you put formal mobility programs in place and enroll people, you can redesign your workplace off of the one-person, one-office model and reduce that horrible statistic I showed you earlier about 60 to 70% of the time offices being empty. Giving your people mobility and places to work and where they work will allow you to put more people in less space. So there's one more winner we definitely don't want to forget, as most organizations do have a stewardship policy, the environment. So as you know, in congested urban areas, air pollution is a problem. That smoke that comes out of the tailpipe is bad for our health, causes asthma and complications. And so anything, again, you can do to support reducing the congestion in your city makes your place a healthier city to live and work in. All right, so we're going to just focus really quickly on making it work. How do you have successful strategies for telework? And just, I'm going to talk about this as telework, but also as flex time, because the same strategies that work for telework programs are also going to work for your flex time program. So first and foremost, we recommend that you advise and manage your program in a way that says telework is a right, not a privilege. And so the number one criteria for making sure your employee can do telework or a flex time schedule is it a good fit for them? And is it a good fit? And then if it is a good fit, Set clear expectations and establish clear procedures. Also, make sure you never send someone into a flex time or telework arrangement without clear and measurable goals. We recommend you open everyone's performance evaluation review before they go out on a flex time or telework situation, and just make sure the criteria they're being evaluated against can still be achieved and measured in a situation where you may not be seeing them as often face-to-face. Another important aspect is to make sure if you're allowing someone to work a different schedule than you are, or if you're allowing them to work from home 1 or more days a week, that you have set up opportunities to get feedback. So whether they be over the phone, whether they be on a virtual meeting, or whether you have them come into the office face-to-face so many days a week or a month, make sure that you have an open communication and feedback loop. FaceTime is important. The great thing about technology, and you can see it on this webinar that I'm doing for you, is we can get online and see each other, see our facial expressions, and talk face-to-face, whether we're in the office full-time or not, and very easily. So make sure, again, that anyone you put on a flex time or telework arrangement, that they're getting FaceTime with you and getting FaceTime with their team. Now, as a manager, it is common, whether someone's teleworking, doing flex time, or just on a regular schedule, to have performance issues. So when performance issues come up, what should you as a manager do? Number one, first and foremost, any change has a period of adjustment. So whether you're putting your employees on a new flex time schedule, allowing them to telework, giving them different options and times to come to work so they can take public transportation, there will be a period of adjustment. And so we recommend weekly check-ins that you as a manager do with your employees to make sure everything is going as smoothly as you want it. Have open and honest discussions, and definitely get support. Your organization should have HR representatives as well as resources like our organization that can come help you and answer questions. And then don't be afraid if the agreement's not working out to revise it as needed. So maybe you thought it was okay to send someone to work from home 5 days a week, and it's not working out. Maybe 3 days a week would be better. So feel free that you're not locked into any one-size-fits-all solution. You need to find the solution that works for your division, your business unit, and the tasks and jobs your employees are fulfilling. So some concerns you as a manager should be aware of. I will tell you, after surveying thousands and thousands of employees around mobile work programs and telework, the most common question they ask is, will working from home, even doing flex time, jeopardize their chances for advancement as an employee? You as a manager can address this concern by continuing to evaluate employees based on performance, not the hours you see them in the office. That's why we mentioned doing that performance review and checking before they leave that you have the same criteria as you have for people who are working in the office. A few notes here too. One of the things you can do to have real estate savings is hoteling. So if you're requiring your people working flex time or doing teleworking to move into a hotel situation, you will need to give them some customized content. And so, as you notice in this presentation, we're keeping it generic so that every company can use this presentation. But one of the things you need to be aware of, if you are asking an employee to give up their office, make sure you're also aware of what the hoteling situation and policies are, and that you have those handy and know them so that when your employees have concerns, questions, or other things, they can be addressed quickly by you or your administrative staff. Just a few notes about the hoteling community. Many people may struggle at first with the idea of giving up their office, having that nameplate on the door, having that identity. But the great thing about doing hoteling communities is you can design them in the way that works for your group. One of the most popular designs is actually to have hoteling areas built right into your core employee base. And so even though they don't have an assigned office, they come and sit in an area where they're around their peers who do have full-time assigned offices. This is a great way to create and keep a sense of community even if they don't have assigned offices. The other thing that as a manager is really important to stress is people and employees can get really attached to a certain hoteling cube and make it into their pseudo-assigned cube. That is definitely to be discouraged, and you as a manager need to be aware of that and discourage that. People should leave the hoteling cubes in beautiful condition. They shouldn't be piling up stuff. They shouldn't be staking them out. They shouldn't be saying that that's a particular cube. And that should allow people to, again, have a more cohesive and smooth experience when they're not working in an assigned office. So one of the things you need to be aware of is at your organization, what is provided in your hotel space. So we've put a slide in here as a placeholder, but you, taking this training, should have in front of you a sheet from your HR representative or mobility program rep that actually details what equipment is in the hotel space. So again, you know, for your employees, you can tell them it has a phone, or you can plug in your laptop here, or there's a monitor, an external keyboard. You as a manager and your administrative support should be aware of those things. So let's talk about the management side of telework and have a frank discussion. So if telework was easy to do and completely seamless, you would see better than 6.4% of Austin, Texas teleworking, because actually surveys show that 88% of the workforce wants to work from home. Obviously, we are a far cry from 88% in our workforce. So managers, it's really important to know that having a telework program can make you uncomfortable. And why? Because we were never taught to be performance-based managers. Performance-based management is a recent phenomenon. It's something that's been adopted by companies, but many companies do not have L&D dollars, and so you never received formal training on how to manage people in a way that's based on performance, not on seeing them and interfacing with them. And telework programs that do fail, everyone's heard the story of Yahoo or when Intel pulled back their teleworkers and some of the other big companies that reduced their programs. The problem is a lot of that was an informalness around the programs. The managers were not trained to manage their teams as mobile teams before they went mobile. They were not measuring and surveying and making sure that the arrangement was working, and they didn't have clear performance metrics to ensure that their people were successful. So it's really important to make sure that you as a manager know and do those things so that you have a successful program. The good news is most telework programs, most flex time programs, and most commuter programs are really successful. The stories of people who have taken the programs back or reversed the program are actually rare. We have thousands of employers all across the world now successfully implementing these programs, and the ones who don't do them are actually in the minority. So let's talk very quickly about 7 points that will ensure that your mobile team is successful. So let's talk about the 7 points of failure first, and I'll give you some tools to help you be successful around those points of failure. So first and foremost, if you want your program to fail, have no discipline or structure around routine communication. No clear rules or boundaries on how the program should work. Have insufficient technology or insufficient training on your technologies, so when they leave, they don't know how to use the tools that you've given them. Having uncommunicated expectations as a manager, feeling irritated but saying nothing or doing nothing about it to remedy that with your mobile workforce program participants. Having unrealistic expectations, not really thinking through what it will take to have a successful program. And actually, one common management mistake that often happens in mobility programs is you actually put more expectations on people not working there than of people who are in the office. And so you end up creating these crazy bureaucracies and expectations that are very hard to meet, even if they were working in the office full time. High level commitment missing. So a lot of organizations struggle with getting a program fully implemented when the CEO, the CFO, the COO, or the senior vice president level, director level, executive director level of the organization doesn't support this. So it's important to get high-level commitment. And then last but not least, at the end of the day, you need to be able to show the program is successful or not. But all of these things have been addressed by thousands of companies across the world successfully. So all of these failure points are easy to make success points as a manager of a mobility program. So success point number 1 is pick the right teleworkers, flex timers, and the right jobs to do at home or do in those alternate working hours. So you should have criteria, and one of the things that we offer, the 2020 Leadership Circle, at www.mobilitysolution.org, is a comprehensive toolkit that gives you everything you need to do to assess and pick and place people in the right jobs for mobile solutions. So think about what parts of the job can be done at home. What time of day could they be done at home? How many days a week could they be done at home? We have clients who do 1 day a week telework. We have clients who do 5 days a week of telework. We have clients who do flex time where employees work from home part of the day and come in part of the day. We have employees who work long days and have 4 days on and then a day off. So success point number 2 is to make sure that all communication methods are decided and frequency specified. So what this means is, you know, when that person goes out, when they're going to check in with you, how they're going to be available, how they're going to be reached, how it's going to be communicated, that when they're not in their office or visible, that people know where they are and have the same ease of communicating with them as they do when they're in the office. So you think about when you have someone who's in a mobile program, how do we stay in touch? How often do you do it now before they've joined the program? In what formats does it work for you as a manager to be communicated with? Who should be involved, and what should be the content of those communications? These are all easy things that can be worked out in quick conversations and short meetings that will save you any kind of headaches further on in the program. Also, you have rules that keep the playing field level. So I'm going to give you one really popular example. It's one I often get calls about, is meetings. So if you have people working out of the office and in the office, one of the most common complaints for the people out of the office is they cannot hear what's going on, or they cannot see what's going on, or they feel at a disadvantage because they're not there. And so one of the most common rules you as a manager can establish, and it's been done successfully by managers all over, is that if you have a mobile workforce, that for meetings, everyone calls in. There's always a conference line put on meetings, whether they are planned to be face-to-face or not. The other thing you can do is also schedule face-to-face meetings on specific days. I have organizations who say all meetings are on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Mondays and Fridays, those are our work-from-home days. Or the reverse. Mondays and Fridays are face-to-face meeting days. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are work-from-home days. You as a manager can be flexible and pick what works for you, but just keep the playing field level between your in-office employees and your mobile ones. Success point number 3, don't underestimate the value of training. So this training is specifically focused for managers. We have another training that's focused on employees. You can do both, and you should train, repeat, both your teams and the managers of those teams in the mobility programs to make sure that everyone is clear on the rules of engagement. You're going to have to train on both the mobility program as well as on the technologies you have available to run the program. So again, second most common call I get from organizations who start mobile work programs is, all my employees are having technology issues when they go in the field. So it's important, whether you're using VPN or cell phones or internet or laptops, printers, dialing into conference lines, WebEx, whatever the type of virtual thing you're using, like Hangouts or even just a standard internal instant messaging service. Those things everyone on your team should know how to use before they leave the office or go on to a flexible working arrangement or a commute program. So in the teleworkforce, technology does rule. In the mobile workforce, technology rules. Commuting, technology rules. So just a few examples of things you need to make sure your staff knows how to use effectively are VPN and Outlook, instant messaging, virtual meetings, intranets. If you have voice over IP service, conference calls, call forwarding, assume people don't know how to use the technology correctly, because you would be amazed. Survey after survey shows that even in-office workers have a very limited understanding of the power of the technologies that you have provided them to use. So now let's talk about success number 4. This really impacts you as a manager. You need to figure out yourself what are your expectations once you go into a mobile working situation. And I can tell you that what you don't like is a great place to start. So things are going to make you feel uncomfortable as a manager once you start managing a mobile workforce. It's going to feel different. It may look different. You may not be sure. And The great thing about mobile workforces is it will teach you to become a better manager and truly evaluate your employees by performance. So make sure you get clear on what those expectations are, communicate them to your team initially and ongoing, because I will tell you as a manager myself, it does change. As business conditions change, as employees change, as situations change, you may have to adapt how you run your mobile workforce program. Just a little note is, one of the clues is anytime you get irritated with a flex timer, a teleworker, a commuter, there is an expectation behind that you have not communicated to that employee. So take a time out, write that down, figure out what expectation that is, and take the time to communicate it and get it resolved before that little irritation turns into a big issue for you as a manager. Success point number 5. So I love the enthusiasm of the organizations that come to me and want to build mobility programs. But one of my first levels of advice to them is, don't jump in. Test the waters first. Having a pilot program is good. You can grow bigger at any time. And pilot programs are great because they allow you to take baby steps to work out the issues in the program and make sure that people are in support. The good thing about having pilots is you can fix things before you run it out to the whole organization, because there will be tweaks. You will find things that are issues, and you will need to improve upon those. Get allies. So you as a manager may support the program, but you may feel like you don't have support at a higher level. The great news is in almost every organization, you can find people who are interested in doing the program and supporting the program. So make sure you have your case. If you've signed on as a pledger to mobilitysolution.org, we give you pages and pages of amazing statistics that you can use to others' data to support your data of why a mobility program is great for your organization. Now let's talk about the last point, and definitely not the least point. We have a separate webinar you can watch on metrics and measuring programs and mobility. So we're not going to cover those things here, but just be aware that your organization should have in place a way to measure whether the program's success. And that measurement should include both evaluating your opinions around the program as well as the people in the program. And so make sure as a manager you know what those look like, how often your organization is running that, and what your part is ensuring that you're getting the right data to show the program is successful and where the program needs improvement. So one of the last thoughts I want to leave you with on success points is the old adage, what interests my boss fascinates me. So be ready to always demonstrate your successes in the terms of upper management. One of the most common things I hear from frustrated middle managers who have a great mobility program, but it's not getting up to the higher levels of the organization is, my upper management doesn't support it. And so what I always say is get to know your upper management and make sure you know how and then why they define their success. And then you collect the data to show why the mobility program is feeding that success. And I've rarely seen an SVP or a senior level executive not get behind a mobility program when a manager can show them the data in the terms that they understand and that are important to them. So at this point, we hope you as a manager are on board and ready to join and support and manage employees in the mobile work program. So at this point, you should have some paperwork in front of you if your organization's given you that to actually sign up your team or yourself into your mobile work program. And we have a little placeholder slide here. You can pause this recording, and if you have an HR representative or program representative with you, they can step you through the specific details of your program. Now we're going to switch gears just for a few minutes to talk specifically about commuter programs. So as a manager, commuter programs we define as alternate ways for people to get to work that are not them driving alone in a car. So it could be carpooling, it could be biking, it could be taking transit, it could be taking a van pool. There's lots of other ways to get to work besides getting in your car. So as a manager, we want to make sure you're also set up for success. You are not expected as a manager to become a commute program expert. There are plenty of expertise out there to support you in those programs. But your support and promotion and understanding of the program is essential to ensure it's a success. And so we're going to take just a few minutes to talk about management skills and approaches. It's mostly the same for an employee that is driving or carpooling and using transit, but there are some exceptions we're going to talk about. The other thing is it's important for you to understand the program well enough that your organization uses and how you can promote it. The same management skills and understanding the basics is going to help you. So, understanding the basics like how does the commute program fit with your company's business plan? And what is the return on investment of the program? It could be that you have increased hiring and retention of employees. It could be that you're saving amazing amounts on real estate or related expenses. It could also align with your organization's values of just being a best workplace to commute with, work with, drive with, telework with. You want to be a #1 employer in the nation. Also, under understanding the basics, make sure you know what commute benefits and resources your company offers. Most companies have different solutions. Some may be able to offer public transit subsidies or connection with rideshare or training on certain things. So your HR department usually is the group that has this documentation. Oftentimes, they have stuff you can use right in new hire orientation to promote people and get them to use the program. But it does vary widely company to company, so make sure you get in touch with the people at your organization so you can get the specifics about your program. Just like telework and flex time, information is great, and you should be able to get those items from your organization so that you can answer basic questions and know who to send them to for further information. Also, let's talk about problems. So you don't want to become a Commute Solutions program expert, but you do need to know where your employees can go if they do have questions or problems. So make sure you're aware of who's in your company is assigned responsibilities for management of the program. And also see, and it's often common in companies, that employees will become commute mentors themselves and are willing to take on and be a resource for things like carpooling, van pooling, ride sharing, and biking. Don't be afraid to ask your employees about how they commute and what's working for them. We highly recommend, and we've provided you several samples, that no matter what, you always do an annual Commute Solutions survey so you know how many employees are doing what, whether it's telework, flex time, or Commute Solutions, and what they would like to be doing and aren't doing yet, so you know how to grow the program and expand the program for the best benefit for you and your employees. A few exceptions just to be ready for. Obviously, you are the key to the success of this program for your organization. Your employees will watch you for cues on whether you support or don't support mobility solutions. So your flexibility and openness to change and adapt is important. You know, taking commute options can create unexpected challenges. It may take additional time to respond to an emergency, or the bus is late and they get to work late. So encouraging employees to come to you or their immediate supervisor to help those problems will help have clear work expectations. You know, behavior change is hard, and so whether it's dieting or giving up a bad habit or commuting to work. And so one of the things that you can do as a manager is know the employees are going to identify triggers that make them not want to do it, and working out a new resolution or solution is what your organization can offer to make them take advantage of that benefit. So for example, if an employee feels pressured to be on time for work, that may work against them choosing a commute option because they'll think, what if the bus is late? Or what if my carpool driver's late that day? My boss is going to count it against me, so I'm just going to keep my car and drive alone. So make sure you as a manager support and understand what the challenges are of commuting and how they impact your employee, and don't make it a punitive thing when emergencies or unexpected things happen. Also, getting employees to redirect their internal motivations will help reinforce and change new behaviors. This applies in any aspect of you as a manager managing an employee, not just your mobility program. But at the bottom line, we're all motivated by pleasure or pain. So if you can emphasize and support the fact that you get that frustration of time wasted in traffic is a pain, and that you're willing to let that employee take another option, and maybe they're willing to do some work on that train, that's one way you could reward the behavior and get that employee or more employees taking an alternative option to work. So from the previous slides, if you're comfortable with how a commute program fits into your business plan, what tools and resources your company's given you on the program, and the challenges we've gone through, as well as the successful tactics you can use as a manager, then you can actually be a coach, whether you want to or not, but we are going to say you will be ready for coaching. So we recommend you as a manager try your company's own programs, whether it be TeleWork, Flex Time, or Commute Options. Have you tried them? Great coaches aren't necessarily the best players, but they've walked in the shoes of others, and so we recommend you as a manager try every single one at least once so you know what it's like and you know what the program is. Keeping consistent over time is also really important to the success of the program. Make small tweaks, resist major changes and benefits. We can tell you, the tortoise and the hare fable, the turtle definitely wins. And so taking and keeping a very consistent program in place, starting basic and then enhancing it, is going to make your employees more comfortable using these options. And then bottom line, you as a manager, you drive the culture of your workplace. What interests my boss fascinates me. And so creating a culture that really supports commute options will also promote positive problem solving, teamwork, and greater diversity among your employees. All will benefit you above and beyond anything you do with the mobility program. So we love to think that the new workplace is not defined by cubicle walls. So if you're interested, definitely get with your HR representative or program manager to hear more about your company's own program. And thank you so much from Kate, Glenn, and myself for joining us for this webinar. And you can download the templates to use these for your own organization's customized training at the links we've provided on the left side. Have a great day.